You're listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. I hope you're well. The interview subject that I've got coming up for you is Brandon Poletti. He's a singer-songwriter from Perth in Western Australia. So many artists that I interview from Perth, they're all good. And Brandon's such a great example of one. He's got a new EP out. It's called Words From Within, and we talk all about that, plus some other stuff. So here he is, Brandon Poletti. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, how are you?
How's things, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Mate, plugging away. You know how it is. This is my interview night tonight, so I've got plenty of interviews lined up, and I'm genuinely looking forward to this conversation, I've got to say, because I truly, I typically listen to a lot of different music, but if I could, a lot of the music that I do listen to from an interviewing perspective, the music that I have to listen to is heavy metal. So,
right, okay.
So when I get an EP like yours, I actually truly enjoy it. And Lee sends across a lot of stuff, of course. But, man, I might as well kick things off now and just say that I love it. I think this Words From Within EP is fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much, mate. I appreciate that.
You know, I think it's an EP that is just filled with good old-fashioned songcraft. You know, it's music in the tradition of Leonard Cohen, Jeff Buckley. You know, you've recorded with a superb cast of musicians. It's truly on point. And you remind me, I don't know whether you've heard of Dave Power over here in Brisbane, but it's music that I'm really happy to find a place in my life with, because I've got kids, and it's music that I can put on in the background whilst I'm dealing with them, and it's music that can be played. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
it's
absolutely. Just everyday music. Yeah, mate, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. That's great.
Yeah, and I just I want to congratulate you on just doing what you're doing. You know, because it's music for the soul. There you go. It's music for the soul, and all that said, though, has everybody been as enthusiastic about your music as I've been there?
Yeah, look, so far, kind of, compared to the last release I put out, you know, I feel like, for myself as an artist, this kind of is very representative of kind of where I am in my life. You know, it's kind of just, finding my feet as an artist, kind of what my sound is. So, I think so far the reaction from people has been quite positive, you know, and it's very humbling to have people say that they're enjoying listening to your music. I think, you know, that's one of the best compliments you can get. So, even from yourself, you know, just hearing that's lovely to hear that. So, you know, awesome, I'm very thankful.
Yeah, and look, it's the band that you've got around you. So I take it you've written all of the music, but I'm a musician, okay, so I listen intently to the band's performance, particularly the rhythm section, being a bass player. And the one thing that I'm hearing, mate, and this is really hard to do, but nobody's overplaying their hand. It sounds like the band has been together for decades on your EP.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, well, what it is, so one of my close mates, Josh Dyson, runs a studio down in Osborne Park called Villa, and he runs that with Harry Winton, who's probably one of the best session guitarists in Perth, Carl Florison, who's on bass that you're talking about, and then there's another guy who isn't in the studio, but he's just an absolute monster musician, is Greg Brenton, who plays the drums. So yeah, these guys are all you know, super experienced session musos who've done some awesome work. So, you know, I'm just very grateful that they were keen to come in and play on the record, and that's why, you know, it came together so beautifully.
Yeah, but tell me about you know, the relationship you have with them. Did you share the music via the Dropbox account or iCloud or whatever it might have been, or did you bring everybody into the studio or a rehearsal environment and go, guys, let's do this? Because there's actually, it's deceptively complicated music, your music, isn't it, really? Because there's actually a lot going on. It's
yeah,
you know what I mean? And so I take it...
that's exactly right.
Yeah, you've written everything on the guitar, of course, probably, or a piano, but then how did you actually tell the guys what you wanted done?
So essentially, I just basically had a guitar track recorded that they would work from, as well as like a vocal track. And we just had the charts drawn up for them and said, look, you know, the way we did it was we recorded bass and either double bass, depending on the song. There's both in the on the EP. So the drum and the bass were recorded together. So we had that kind of real live sound coming through. That's kind of what you hear. It sounds as though the band's almost playing in front of you. And then we basically said, look, you know, just whatever you feel as though the music is going to do, that's what we want you to play. So they kind of had just a quick run through the song maybe twice, and then that's I think probably for each song maybe not even 3 runs, not even 3 takes. That's how quickly they did it. So yeah, it was very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible, mate. Well, you're obviously working when you're a musician of high caliber, and you're a great songwriter, so it makes sense that you would attract the same type of people to you. So tell me about working with John at Villa Studio. Why did you choose to work with him specifically?
Oh, me and him have worked together for years now. So he actually saw a video I put up probably 3 years ago on my Facebook page, just kind of one of the songs I'd written. He was actually my lecturer at Whopper at the time. So he just flicked me a message on my personal account and said, would you be keen to come in? Let's do some demos. And yeah, before I knew it, we had a whole EP done, and then recorded the second one. And then now we're looking to go for a album next year. So yeah, he's just a great guy, an amazing musician. Basically, put him on anything and he can probably play it to, a high caliber. So yeah, he's a great person to work with.
So who are you inspired by, mate? I mentioned Leonard Cohen and Jeff Buckley earlier, but I suppose there's a whole bunch of people you listened to growing up. Who inspired you to pick up music as a thing in the first place, and who continues to inspire you?
Oh, yeah, so probably initially, Paul Kelly was massive for me when I was a kid. Awesome. I think Dad had 3 or 4 of his albums, and, they were just... Yeah, I just rope listening to them. I think he's probably... will go down as probably the best Australian songwriter in history. He'll be up there in the world as one of the greatest songwriters.
He and Ian Moss, I reckon. He and Mossy, I reckon, are the two.
Ian Moss, he's amazing. He's brilliant. And then I suppose now it's kind of changed because, if you listen to this new album, a new EP, it's kind of got like a countryish feel. So I draw a bit of inspiration from people like Chris Stapleton, Amos Lee's another one who's a guy from Nashville. Who else? John Mayer. I get a bit from his Born and Raised album. I think that's a brilliant album. Who else? Like Coulter Wall, if you've ever heard of him. It's just these real...
tell me about him,
he's just like it's almost like that cowboy kind of countryish music, It's just kind of like almost like the stamping on the ground as they're walking, like that real slow tempo, but just the storytelling is phenomenal. Just awesome storytelling.
Yeah, I get you. I can hear that in your music now that you mention it. Actually, I never try to make too many assumptions about things when I'm listening, but yeah, you're a storyteller. You're like a Bob Dylan-style storyteller, and something that Lee sent through in the bio, it says that you played before 40,000 rabid football fans. So what was that all about? Was that playing before an AFL match or something, was it?
Yes, I played at the, I think it was Fremantle Dockers v Essendon or something like that. That was last season, so... that was great. Just played, I think it was 2 songs before and then 1 song at 3/4 time. So, yeah, it was definitely the biggest crowd I've ever seen or even played in front of.
I've always wanted to talk to somebody who's done that because how do you bloody hear yourself? It's all in-ear monitoring, or have they got proper monitors on the little stage?
It is horrible. So you've got in-ear monitors, but because of the relay from the sound going through all the speakers and stuff, you're hearing yourself in your in-ears and then you're hearing what's coming out about half a second later. So it's really quite a draining process, and you're just trying to block out what's coming out from the outside and just focus on what's coming in through your ear monitors. It's nothing that I like doing, but having the fallback in front of you, I always find that's just the best way to do it. Otherwise, it's a pain.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to your point, I don't understand why they use in-ears in those situations there because, the latency is just killer. And I mean, I've seen bands and musicians, when they do the national anthems, and they're by themselves, right? So they've got 2 things. So their voice is coming at them, a couple of milliseconds or half a second after they're singing, and there's nothing supporting them. I've actually seen people stop singing, in front of how many people?
Well, that's exactly just trying to find where you're at, because you're getting 2 different kind of sonic waves coming through, and then you're trying to process which one's where you're actually at. So, yeah, it's definitely something that I'd try and avoid in future circumstances, I reckon.
So what do you do with yourself outside of music, mate? How do you find balance? So I take it you've got a day job as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, unfortunately, the music's not at a point where I can afford to just do that full time. But I teach. So I actually got my teaching degree last year. So I
Good
just
on
do
you.
relief
Yeah.
teaching, which is just kind of the cruisiest job. Works very well alongside what I do with my music. Gives me plenty of time to focus on that. And then aside of that, yeah, just do a heap of cover gigs, but don't really market them too much. Just try and keep the original stuff, plug that through the Facebook page and stuff. So that's kind of what keeps me ticking over when I'm not doing my my regular music stuff.
Yeah, I get you. Teaching and music, I suppose. God, you'd be the popular teacher there, I suppose, wouldn't you? You should bring out the guitar at the end of each term. And
Nah, God no. I like to think I'm pretty tough, mate. Pretty stern. I think you got to be now.
yeah, well, I think I mentioned, I've got kids, mate. So it's yeah, I see what teachers go through. My mother was a teacher too, mate, and that was a different era. But mate, I think these days with teaching, you might be teaching the kids, but you're managing the parents at the same time. Is that how you see it as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm quite lucky because I'm just released, so you don't really have too much of the, you don't have to deal with the parents too much or anything like that. You're mainly just kind of monitoring behaviour when you're in the classroom, so that's quite bearable. Plus, like the schools that I work at, they're all fantastic. So I've got a private school that I mainly work through, and most of the students there are quite good. So it's actually quite enjoyable work.
Mate, let's talk about the music again, because look, I feel strongly about what you're doing here. I think it's wonderful music that almost anybody who listens to, like, is a music fan, you know what I'm saying, will find value in. So how do you plan on spreading the word? Of course, you're talking to me, I'm a podcaster and the like, but is it a case of throwing a few $100 on a Facebook ad to try to spread the word, or how do you plan on doing that?
Yeah, look, for me, I just think I'm just going to keep plugging away, really. So, like you say, I do a lot of advertising through the social media. I think Instagram, in particular, is one of the strongest marketing tools you can use at the moment. So, I've been doing quite a bit through that. But I think for me, just really keep putting out music and then just keep spreading the word. And I think eventually people will just, decide whether they like it or not, and you'll slowly build a fan base. I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah, slowly building a fan base. Yeah, so that's a good point. So are you selling physical copy? Have you got vinyl and or CD copy of your product as well, your music as well?
Yeah, I've got the CDs for this latest EP, so they got delivered, I think it was last week. So, yeah, I've just had a heap of merch made up today. So I've got some stickers, some T-shirts, and the CDs now. So I'll be selling them on Friday. We've got the EP launch down at the Rosemount. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so important, I think, to have those things, because oftentimes when you're playing, like you're doing a live gig, people go, well, I really enjoyed that. How do I support this artist? And it's like, well, yeah, I don't have any merch made up yet. Well, it's like, well, have it made up so as though people can feel like as though they've got a tangible way of making sure you can continue to make music and create. And merch is just cool anyway, like bottle openers and cups. And what was someone telling me they did the other day? They did a beer, like a coaster, the things that beers go into, and a bottle opener, and then they issued like a code so that people could download the music instead of having to, as an MP3 or a WAV file, I think it was.
So that's a great idea.
That was $10 or something like that. I thought, that's awesome. That's the way to do it. So some random might have been in the crowd not knowing what to expect, and they've gotten into your music. Next minute, mate, they're like, how do I support this fella or gal?
That's exactly, and like even in kind of the digital age, if you're just kind of relying people to, go on Spotify and Apple Music, it's really not tangible. I don't think that you can expect people to just go watch a gig and then actively afterwards kind of search you up and listen to your music. But I think if there's something there and they're impressed by the show, they'll definitely go, oh yeah, $20 for a T-shirt, I'll throw that away to give them a bit of support. So I think definitely merch is probably one of the best things for artists to get involved with.
Absolutely, mate. And on that note, so you've got this wonderful EP here that you're promoting, but I take it you've got more music in you. Of course you do. So what do you want to do next? You want to do an album, and do you want to go on a tour and take your music further afield, say to Europe or the US?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think probably what we're going to do next year is probably, well, if everything goes to how I've planned it out at the moment, but, these things always, give or take a few months, I think. But we're hoping to have the album recorded by March next year. So we go in, I think it's next week, next Thursday, we head in to start recording, just get the guitar tracks down and stuff. So have all that done hopefully by March. Then we're going to tour. We'll go down south, the southwest of WA, kind of Busselton, Margaret River area.
Yep.
Hopefully over to Sydney, Melbourne, do a couple East Coast dates, and then, eventually, hopefully get somewhere else. We'll see how we go. We haven't planned that far ahead yet, but I think New Zealand was one that we kind of threw in the air for a little while there, that we might try and get over there at some point and do a couple of dates. So, I think it's on the cards next year that we're going to try and get to as many places as we can to try and promote it.
Just want to talk about the music side of things again, because it intrigues me with the music that you're making. So do you have a specific guitar that you prefer to use, such as a Gretsch or a Martin acoustic? Is that how you work, or are you really one of those fellas that can... You're a Keith Richards type where you can pick up anything and make it sound like you?
I don't know. I couldn't compare myself to Keith Richards, but I wish I could. But I usually write. I've got a piano at home that I sometimes write with, but most of the time it's the old Maton acoustic that I have. So I've had that for about 2.5 years now, and it's just it's pretty special. I've written some decent songs on it, so I think that's kind of my go-to now. So when I sit down and I've just got the notepad in front, I just kind of wait for something that strikes a chord that sounds kind of interesting, and then I go from there.
I'm with you on Maton. I used to be a Martin man, actually, and I had a really solid orchestra model Martin, but it just was a hard bitch to play, to be honest with you. It was just so hard to play it. And a mate lent me his Maton, and I haven't given it back, and that was about 5 or 6 years ago.
See, they're just absolute workhorses, I found. So I used to have prior to this just like a stock standard Fender. I think it was like a CD60 or something.
Sure,
you can pick one up for about $500 or something. But when the music started picking up, I thought I probably need to invest in something a bit better here. So went out and bought the Maton, and just kind of ever since, like I've had it set up maybe twice, and it's just so beautiful to play. It's just the action on it's always very like the intonation and stuff on it's just beautiful. So I think it's definitely for me something in future I wouldn't mind even just upgrading again and going to. I think it's like the Messiah or something. It's kind of one of the top models you can get.
You're a bit out of the loop with acoustic guitars these days. I really became a Martin aficionado for years, but I've still got a Martin acoustic bass, which is a stunning instrument. I bought it from New York. And I rarely play it. I've got it in storage, but it's the sort of thing I'll have for my entire life, It's just one of those really well-built guitars, if you know what I'm saying. And I know Martin have had some issues, I think, over the years. I don't know whether it's been with quality control, but a lot of their guitars haven't sounded that good. But Maton, I just find, to your point, mate, you can pick up a bloody cheap one, brand new, really sort of knock it in, so to speak. Play it and make it sort of understand who you are as a player, if that makes sense. I know it's not a conscious living thing, but they kind of have that vibe, don't they, as you well know, being a musician.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And even I suppose it's just that factor of maintaining it as well, because I know with mine, I probably left it maybe 18 months without having it set up, and just kind of, it started falling apart. And then once I had it set up, I got it back, and I was just like, oh my God, why did I wait so long to get this done? It just felt awful now, whereas it's just got that playability back. It just feels so beautiful to play, it's easy to get around on the neck. So yeah, I think, you really gotta look after it. It's like your kid. You gotta look after it.
Yeah, it's or a car even, where if you don't service it, it develops issues, and that's the thing about these things.
Exactly.
It's bloody guitars, mate. I reckon. I don't know how many I've got these days, but yeah, we can never have enough, can we?
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah. See, I'm thinking about buying another electric. I've got a couple of Tellys, but I've always wanted a Strat, and I haven't really got around to buying one yet.
Get a Strat. Yeah.
I'm thinking. Yeah, I think I'll probably get one next. So there was a nice Japanese one going the other day. On do you have those those Facebook groups for all the gear that's for sale and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I think I had an addiction there for a while. So there was a nice Japanese one going on there the other day. So I don't know. I'll try and talk myself out of it, but I probably will end up getting it. I'd say.
Oh, I think every good guitarist needs a Strat, brother. I got to tell you. I mean,
that's exactly it.
I've got a beautiful. I think it's a 2002 model Strat.
Yeah.
And black pickguard, really dark mahogany coloured wood on it. And,
beautiful.
But it's one of those dark sounding Strats too. It's got some meanness in it, but some Strats sound really sort of bright, and like Chuck Berry style stuff. But this Strat sounds really dark, and it lends itself to grunge and that sort of music. And I've got I've got a mate in. What's the Master? Is it a Master Sound? That's right, the Master Sound. I just haven't played them in a couple of years, to be honest, because I'm being primarily a bass player. I do that, but I've got a it's called Surf Blue. So it's got that classic 1950s blue. At first I thought it was a bit effeminate, to be honest with you, and I didn't want to play it. But everybody that I was sort of showing it to went, "No, this is killer. We're so used to seeing black and red guitars, and this is this blue aqua sort of surf
it's
colour."
Probably totally unique. Yeah, definitely. That'd be one that you'd, I reckon, take on stage and just make your signature.
Oh, definitely.
So it's kind of like it's part of your branding. Just people kind of see that guitar and it's like, oh, that's that's Dave or whatever.
Yeah, I just don't. The truth is, man, is that I much prefer playing the bass. It's just that I love funk, right, and jazz. So when you're doing that, and it's not. I mean, jazz, of course, there's some brilliant guitarists in jazz, of course, some of the best ever.
Oh, absolutely.
But,
totally.
But funk is really a style of music and disco really lend themselves to solid slap bass. I'm looking at a big picture I've got up here of Larry Graham to give you an idea where I'm coming
awesome.
from. And I just find that with bass, I can cruise. Does that make sense? Like I can be funky and cruise at the same time. And with
absolutely.
guitar though, I'm just finding that I just constantly have to think, and it wears me out physically and mentally. So but I'm not a natural guitarist, man. It obviously is. I'm a natural bassist, so I just I just sort of stick to that. But that's life. But you certainly found an instrument that's your calling, and it's definitely evident on this EP.
Yeah. See, I find like I'm naturally. I'm quite good at just acoustic guitar and all the finger picking and stuff like that. And I like to think I'm a half decent songwriter. But just I used to, when I first started playing with the band, I used to actually play a bit of lead. But I've since got one of my closer mates in to play lead, and he's an absolute monster. Just I kind of like you say, I just found that it's not something that comes to me naturally. Like I much prefer just having the easiness of just playing the acoustic. And then more so focusing on ensuring that the vocals sound good and, all the harmonies where they should be, instead of just worrying about, all right, I've got a lead break coming up. What am I going to play here? Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Mate, I'll wrap things up. It's been a wonderful chat. But before I do, I want you to tell everybody where they can go to support you, where can they find your music, and where can they buy your merch? Yeah,
absolutely. So, all my music is on every streaming service that you've ever heard of. So, just jump on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever one you use. It should be there. Hopefully it should anyway. I paid someone to put it up there. But merch-wise, we're just at gigs at the moment. So if you're from WA, have a look on my website. There's a ton of gigs coming up, www.brandonpoletti.com. Otherwise, I think merch, we're hoping to have it ready to go online in probably about 2 weeks. So, watch out for that.
Okay. And look, for everybody listening that gets into, a lot of my listeners do love heavy metal, but look, if you want something that's a bit different, something to break up your mood, in terms of you're feeling in the mood for something a bit different, break things up, this is the EP. This is a killer EP. Like I said earlier, the Leonard Cohen and Jeff Buckley thing, that's what I'm hearing through it, but it's modern. That's the thing. You're not trying to copy anybody. You're not trying to be anybody but yourself. I'm really hearing that. So, I really implore anybody out there who's listening to get into you, man. So, thanks very much for the chat, brother. What I'll do from here is if you're comfortable with everything I've chatted about, I certainly am. I'll just post it and link you in on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. That'd be super cool. Thank you so much.
Share away or otherwise, mate. No dramas either way.
Awesome. Thank you, mate. I appreciate it.
No worries. Good luck with everything, man.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, mate. Catch ya.
Yep.
You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. That interview subject was from Perth, Western Australia. His name, Brandon Poletti. Thanks so much for listening.